Hello, and welcome to another story behind the plot. Um, this is kind of a thing I have done only once before when it came to player choices, but now I kind of want to go into a little bit of another discussion that I've had with people a couple times, such as the nature of the main character in regards to the world setting and the general plot. And this is also something that I want to build upon and work on a little bit better, because there are aspects of this that I feel that I could do much better than I have currently. But I just want to kind of go over my general philosophy regarding the main character, their role, and the story of the main character in Shattered Realms Mortal Tale. I'm going to go into a little bit of history regarding the project in general, because I think it's relevant to my decision regarding the main character. So, in order to understand the main character and how they kind of function, I need to kind of first explain what exactly came before Mortal Tale and all that. So, way back around 2011, even earlier, I was working on a Neverwinter Nights module called Axis of Destruction. This module was very relevant to not Heroes Tale, we'll get into that, but Mortal Tale, for a number of reasons. First off, it was the actual world that you play in now, only in a very different sense. Back then, the world was quite literally shattered. That's kind of where the whole series name came from, Shattered Realms, because the world of which the setting takes place in was literally destroyed by a primeval deity, and it only reformed really in this current age that Mortal Tale takes place in. But the intention behind the precursor to Mortal Tale, Heroes Tale, was that after the events of what was essentially a multiplayer server where you could battle against the enemy faction, either the Great Union or the Legion. I'm not going to get into who they were today because I don't have enough graphics to kind of go into who they were and what they did and stuff like that. Just know that they were two major political forces within the broken world at that time. But essentially, after the whole major series of events had taken place and the Great War to protect the world from that same primeval entity I mentioned before, and everything kind of started to return to the way it was before, but in the same sense, but in a different sense, it wasn't the same. That is where a module named Heroes Tale came into play. Heroes Tale was essentially the aftermath, but you would have played it from the perspective that you didn't know what this world was back then. You didn't know anything about this world. It was just a strange, mostly uninhabited world that very little information could be gleaned from. And that was the original way I wanted to tell the tale of Mortal Tale, because in reality, Mortal Tale is Heroes Tale, but with a different name and a far different setup than how it originally was portrayed. Though originally I was going for that vast, empty world kind of feel, but it did not work the way I wanted it to. So I'm telling it from a very different way than I started. Essentially what it became, though, was kind of like a place you could settle down after you were done with your adventure and have a house and stuff like that. There was a bunch of different world secrets that were planned, and there's actually a few recurring areas from Heroes Tale and Mortal Tale that both have. Hanaru Village is actually one of the main areas that makes a return. and indeed kind of the themes of the two villages are the same. but not. I'll kind of explain in a little bit. But another major location that, actually a couple locations that make a return are the Ancient Forest and the Ancient Hills. The Ancient Hills was originally more of a giant coastline area that led directly, well, it had like a coastline sort of feel that led directly into the world Scar. I can't really explain it nowadays because you would have just had to be able to see what the terrain was like back then. But it wasn't like sheer cliffs like it is in the RPG Maker equivalent. Anyway, that was kind of what Hero's Tale was. A very vaguely defined world and vaguely defined plot. There was none, pretty much. I had ideas for a vague world plot, but it wasn't like a grand RPG sort of thing. It was just like, discover the secrets of this world. And that's kind of one of the approaches that carried over into Mortal Tale, but in a very different sense, in the form of exploration. And yet, I feel like there's a lot more life to Mortal Tale than in the original version. So kind of one of the reasons I moved away from Hero's Tale as a title was it's a very cliche name, and I figured someone else would already have that name by this point. Like Hero's Tale, it's like the most obvious way to go, right? So I kind of went like, well, what's another name I could do? And it kind of came down to Mortal Tale. And while this particular reason is not one that I decided upon at the time, it's one that I've kind of understood as probably the best reason for it. So bear with me on this one. So the idea of Mortal Tale is kind of complicated. Why I kind of use it now. Mortal Tale is kind of meant to be more about the people of the world and an expression of what this world is and what it's like. It's not about a hero. It's not about one person. It's about all of the people of this world. It's about the world that you're actually trying to save. I didn't want to go down the traditional hero path with this. I very much want to go for a sense that while you are a hero, you're not the focus of this world, and it ultimately does not really care about you. Whereas while some elements do care about the hero aspect and mentality, the message I want to go for in the end is that you're not what's important. The world is. The people who are around you is. And that's kind of why it's called Mortal Tale. Because it's not about the tale of a hero, it's the tale of a world and the mortals that dwell within it. And it kind of tries to go... I want to kind of go for a approach where you're seen more as just a person than just a hero. This isn't just a story about a hero who comes, saves the day, and leaves, and you don't understand what happens to them after, or they just mysteriously pass on, and then a new hero is reincarnated like Link. You see, Link from Legend of Zelda, he is a very stereotypical kind of hero. Like, he starts off on the beginning of his journey, not really equipped for the job, but he grows stronger over time, and then he eventually confronts the big bad, and there is this big showdown, and then his fate and everything that happens to him is kind of left up in the dark, up in the air. It's in the dark. You just know that happy ending, question mark? You don't know anything about Link after that. You don't see his life story. And one of the things I want to really emphasize, what I really want to emphasize is that this is, at the end of the day, a person who, like everyone else, wants to live a life of their own. And their choices are not just some hero saving the world, it is the actions of a person in the grand sea of thousands, if not millions of people around them, all doing things of their own accord. There is a story to the hero, and there is, in fact, a plot line concerning them, but it's not the only one that is of note. They're not the only significant character. They're not the one with the big spotlight shown on them 24/7. That's not how I want to approach the character. I want them to be a lens so that you can see the world around you and interact with the other characters and feel more a part of it than just an agent wandering through it, doing your deed and then going. The idea is to make you care about the whole world rather than just yourself. If you're only obsessed about what the main character is doing, you focus less on the world, and it's a much less personal experience, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, things could turn out rapidly different from what I intend, and I could do a botched attempt to portray all this. We don't know what's going to be the end product, but I definitely want to go for that kind of approach. And I'm going to do my best to kind of make a ending that is very suitable to that end. I do actually have a very good idea of what I want to do with the ending of this game, and I think the symbolism and the impact it will have will be quite special. I've not really told anyone else yet what I plan for the actual finale, but it's going to go into the concept of what it means to be just a regular person trying to do the right thing, as opposed to being a grand hero who disappears and is never heard from again, only to be reborn later and continue to cycle endlessly. That's the kind of theme I want to go with Mortal Tale. I want to emphasize that it is not about the reoccurring hero coming from the great dark beyond and doing what he does and then disappearing. I wanted to make it a personal tale about you, the world, and all the other mortals that dwell within that world. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, if I make no freaking sense, but I got the inspiration to do this at least a couple days ago, and I've been mulling it over a little bit, kind of thought about it in my head for a little while, and this is kind of where it kind of led. I hope this was an interesting discussion, and I hope that you guys will have some input of your own. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, and I would love to discuss it in the comments. So, if you have any sort of ideas about this of your own accord, I would love to hear it. But I think I've kind of discussed all I need to discuss. I do have more ideas for more commentary like this. If you guys want to hear more commentary and my thoughts on the world that I'm building, please let me know. Subscribe and like the video if you want to see more of this content. I will probably be building a playlist for these kind of things in the future, so look forward to that, and it will probably get featured on the main channel page at some point, so you can find these videos way easier in the future. But that's going to be it. Thanks for listening to my rambling once again. I'll link the previous video concerning player choice in the description and in the in a iCard at the top right. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone.